In the era of crazy lighting setups and endless affordable lighting options at your fingertips, it can get a little overwhelming and intimidating. Trust me, I know. And so in this video, I wanted to go back to the basics and just show you all how you can light with just one good key light and the sun. So let's get into it. In this video, I'm gonna show you all two frames. One is going to be where I use one good key light and the natural light as a fill. And then the other one's going to be where I use natural light only as my full light source. And there are three things that I want you to look for when you are deciding to use natural light in any scenario as a part of your lighting setup, because it's imperative to know if it's going to help or hinder your overall image. Now, the first thing that you want to look for when you're using natural light as a lighting source is going to be going into the space and seeing what the light in the space is already doing for you, and then what you need to expound upon. So I shot this particular frame in my client's house. She has these beautiful windows all around the house that just brings in natural light. Look at what it's doing in this space. Where does the natural light fall off? Where are the shadows? How they're facing? Are they strong? Are they soft? All of those things you kind of want to look at. Are there practicals that you can use because you only have one light? So are there practicals in this space that you can use, whether it's a lamp, whether it's a door that has a window? What is it in this space that is going to help or hinder you for the exact image that you want to go for? And sometimes when you have too much natural light, it can just bounce everywhere. It's too much light everywhere, and we're trying to keep it minimum. We don't have all the grip. We don't have all the diffusion. We have one light and the sun. So what are we going to do? So the thing that I like to use is a Sun Seeker app. That is going to show me where the light is going to be at a particular time. It just helps determine what you need to do and how you need to figure out your framing. Those are all important things that you have to make note of as a DP, as a filmmaker. If you're using natural light, it's imperative to learn about the sun. The second thing is going to be figuring out your composition and your frame. Once you figure out what the sun is doing, that's going to determine where you want to set up, right? And so with that, what do you want your composition to look like? That brings me to this image. When I got there, knowing her house, I knew I really liked the overall aspect of this composition. You have this beautiful window that's happening, and then you have this window in the back. And all of that light is bringing you to him. He is the focal point. The reason why I set this up here, because again, I love the whip panels where we see him. And then you have this, backlight happening back here. And then you have this big window that is kind of helping fill the space. And then now from there, it was like, I only have a key. So where are we going to place the key? And so I think that's why I really like this space, is because without the key, it did so much for us already. You can see from the door in the back, it's adding pretty much a kick light here. And you can see that kind of on his skin. And then even it's separating him. He has on darker colors, it's separating him from this background. But here you can see a little fall off from this window, and you can even see it on his hat, and that's adding the light, that feel that's happening all around as well. And so then we could really just focus on lighting him. Now, when it comes to finding a key light, because I know that there are so many affordable options out there, but when it comes to finding a key light, you want to find a powerful enough light that's going to do what it needs to do. The light that I decided to use and that I only used for all of these interviews consistently was the Nanlite 500. I want to say the 500Bs bicolor. So the reason why I chose the 500 is because, but 500 is going to give you a little bit more than what you need, because in this image, we were only at 6% for the key. So again, I didn't want it to be too powerful because I wanted to feel like natural. The motivation was this window. We didn't want it to feel like we were actually lighting him with the light. Although, of course it looks that way, but the goal was to have it on the same side as the window where you see light happening. And that normally is where it makes the most sense. And so having and finding a light that is going to be powerful enough to where you only do need one light. We positioned that light here, and that was giving us, it was helping wrap his face around, as you can see. And you can even see the Rembrandt that is happening in this. And I love a good Rembrandt, and it's normally when you see this triangle that's happening on the opposite side of your key light. And that lets you know that pretty much the light is a 45-degree angle from the subject. So I had it at a 45-degree angle to camera right, and the interviewer was also next to that light, and so that's why he's not facing the camera, he's facing the interviewer. And so for me, the composition, I knew I wanted to have a lower angle to where he was like, it was more of a hero. He was a little higher, and you can tell that he's looking at somebody or something because we're just a fly on the wall for this particular interview. And so setting up your light, the composition, all of those things matter when you're trying to get a particular image. And it all worked perfectly. Even just moving that light, your key light, over to the side and not directly in front kind of helps add a little bit more drama. Now, if I didn't want to have too much shadow spilling or too much shadow on that side, I could have just brought the light more frontal of him, and that would have kind of like minimized the amount of shadow that I was getting. So not only do you want to find the right composition and frame for your lighting and all of that, but you want to find the right composition and frame for the story itself. And so it just all worked. And again, it gave us this nice Rembrandt lighting, and it added a lot of contrast naturally on his face. We don't have all the gear. We don't have 4x. We don't have negative field. I didn't even have a reflector, although I should have. And so with that, when you make your light a little bit more sidey, you're going to naturally get a fall off on your light and add contrast. So again, it's really learning how to shape light. It's not about having all of this light. It's how do I shape the light to get the image that I want. Once you learn how to work with that one key light, everything else falls into place. Now, we had the 500 nan light as our key. We use the natural light as our sun. Now, there's one little thing I want to talk about specifically for this interview, which is the fact that he has on a hat. And when you wear a hat on an interview, it's going to add shadow under there. And that can sometimes be a problem. Now, the good thing is, because I angled him lower, if I would have had him eye to eye, it would have been such a bigger issue, because you really wouldn't have saw his eyes because of the hat. And so I think being smart also and saying, let me have the camera a little lower so we can look up, we can see his eyes. That was the first thing. So paying attention to the detail like that of like, he really wants to wear a hat. So making him comfortable, because he's not somebody who does interviews like that. What can I do on my end to still get the image I need to get and the lighting to look good? And so I just, brought the camera down. So it's like those small details that makes you a better filmmaker and a better shooter. I didn't have a reflector, and if I did, it would have been a lot easier to just bounce. So I basically just did like a floor bounce. I was working with my friend Samira, who's a photographer for my client as well, and I knew that she always kept at least one light at my client's house. And so we got the light, which was also a nan light, and it was like the super small nan light that makeup artists might use or anything like that. So we just used that. And because I didn't have my reflector and she didn't have her reflector, we went and got wrapping paper. And on the side of wrapping paper, the back side, it was white. I saw some suitcases, and we put the suitcase down to try to get it a little higher because the wrapping paper wasn't as thick and could bounce if it was too low, because he was sitting up high. And so we put two things of wrapping paper on top of the suitcase, and we got that light. And we literally just angled it to that wrapping paper so that it can bounce back up to his face. Now, do you have to do that all the time? No. Does that mean it was two lights in a sense? Yes. I didn't necessarily have to do that, which is why I wouldn't count it. But because I am a perfectionist, and as a DP, those are just things that I've learned. I'm like, okay, I want it to be great. We did it. Because you can get anything that's white. Like anything in your house that's white. You can even go to, Walmart or Michael's and get just like one white sheet of paper, and then angle the light down to that, and then it bounces up. And that really, it's small. It's a small detail, but you can see before and after slightly that it really did add a little bit more light to that little area on top. But another cool thing is he also had on a white shirt, which also helped when we did do that floor bounce. And so overall, he's just lit nice. Now, the next frame that I want to talk about quickly is going to be using the natural light and the natural light only. We have these super big windows with a lot of natural light coming in. And I use the Sunseeker app to see where the sun is going to be. And it's actually on a whole other side of this hotel, which means it's going to be nice, even light that's just going to peek through this whole room. So it's one here and it's one there. So we pretty much have a soft key there. We have a break, and then we have pretty much like a back. I'm pretty much using this as a back or a side. And then we have over here just a wall, and it's white, so it's gonna bounce, which is okay, but also it's not gonna give us as much contrast, but we'll still have a natural fall off. The biggest thing was, what practicals do we have to where we can, add what we need to add to that. And so the biggest practicals that we had already in the space were these lights that was happening up here. So when I walked into this space, what I loved was this bookshelf. I said, I want texture, because other than that, it was all these walls, all these white walls that just didn't give us much. And I was like, I want to have texture. And so when I saw this bookshelf, I was like, this is the way we need to shoot. Plus it was a little corner, so it was going to add depth. So we already had these practicals that were pretty much a backlight for us. On this side, it was a big white wall. So you can already tell that there's a little bounce happening, but we still get a little contrast in her face. We'll get to that. So we have these backlights that was pretty much helping this whole bookshelf all back here. And now from there, we had to figure out our natural light and the angle. So that I already knew that was my composition. I already saw those lights. And because that whole wall was window, the only thing that we can do to shape the light was to close some of the curtain where we didn't want the light to be spilling. And so what I did was I pretty much kept all this light that was behind her open, and then whatever light that was in front of her closer to the camera, which the camera was right here, I closed any light that was behind the camera. Any window behind the camera I closed. And that's why you see this contrast happening on the side. Because if I would have kept it open, it would have wrapped a lot more around her face. One, it's the sun, and it's a big window, so it's going to spill a lot more. And so all we could do was close the curtains to probably try to contain the light. And so that's why she has this soft light. I didn't really use the fusion or anything like that. So that's why the light is already soft. The roll off is just soft. You don't see any sharp contrast is happening. And it's because the natural light is the best light, and knowing when to shoot and how to use it, you could get some great things. And that was pretty much it. And so the sun was over here, and that was just hitting her all on that side. And the fact that she also has on white, like, that's already helping pretty much provide a little bit more light. So if the sun is peeking through, it's bouncing on her shirt anyways. And then we had this wall that was white that was also bouncing. So we do still have a lot of light bouncing all over this place, but because we contain some of the sun by closing some of the curtains, and then we have this backlight happening, we were able to make it feel like it just wasn't all over the place. The natural light wasn't all over the place. And so that's another thing. Face the natural light. It's your key. Don't turn them away from it. And because if she would have turned a little bit more towards camera, we would have got a little bit more shadow on her face. But because the interviewer is, again, right in front of the windows, she's facing the light. But it all worked out in our favor because, again, I wanted hers to be a little bit more soft. I wanted hers to be a little bit more flattering with not too many harsh shadows or thick shadows. And so it worked out. But all in all, I would say, get back to the basics sometimes. Everything doesn't have to be multiple lights and these crazy light setups. And so I just want to encourage anybody who's watching this, who's trying to learn lighting and who's getting into filmmaking and wanting to better what they're shooting, learn lighting the easy way. Don't dive in and try to get into all these fancy setups because you want it to look good for social. Really, when you learn your key light, everything else falls in place. That's why 3-point lighting is a good foundation, because you have your key light, your fill, and your backlight. And if you think about it, on this particular image, the key light was the sun, the backlight was the little small practicals, and the fill was that side wall. And so in a sense, I did a 3-point, just not with lights. I did it with the things that were in the space. Even for Dwayne, the first frame, you can see our key light was the Nanlite 500. Our fill was the natural light from the window, and our backlight was the door window. And so I'm technically showing you all how to do a 3-point lighting system with one light. That's crazy. I'm just not thinking about that. And so I say all that to say, just work with what you got. And don't feel intimidated or overwhelmed because you don't got it. It's possible. And so hopefully this video helped y'all. If you have any questions, please leave them down below. Like this video, share with your friends, and of course, make sure that you are subscribed. If this is the type of stuff that y'all want to see, also let me know. I want to get back into truly helping y'all not get so overwhelmed in this space. I know with YouTube, you're seeing it so much more, and it's all over. And so hopefully this video got a little bit more detail to teach y'all how to use one light, how to use natural light, and what to look for when you're doing it. Download the Sunseeker app and let me know how it goes. Thank y'all so much for watching. And of course, I'll see you in the next video.